It started with a mistake. A small one. The kind you think you can hide with a few deep breaths and a splash of cold water. But the moment I felt my body temperature spike in the middle of class, I knew I was in trouble. The faintest trace of heat. Early. Unscheduled. And worst of all, surrounded by alphas. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to breathe through it. The scent was faint, sweet and sharp, but it was mine. And someone had noticed. Because when I lifted my eyes, Ryo Kenzaki was staring right at me. The alpha across the room. Tall. Calm. Always sitting in the back row like the rules didn't apply to him. The kind of guy who didn't talk much, but when he did, everyone listened. Our eyes met. His nostrils flared slightly. And just like that, my pulse went wild. He shouldn't have been able to smell it. My suppressants usually worked. But something was off this morning, maybe the stress, maybe I'd missed a dose. I looked away too quickly. My pencil dropped. His gaze followed it down and didn't leave. When the bell rang, I bolted for the hallway, hoping he'd forget about it. But halfway down the stairs, a voice stopped me. Yuki. I froze. He almost never used anyone's name. Ryo was standing a few steps below, one hand on the railing, the faintest smirk on his lips. You in a hurry? Class, I muttered. Next building. His eyes lingered on me like he could still feel my scent in the air. You should be more careful walking around like that. Like what? Like an Omega who forgot his suppressants. His voice dropped, teasing but dangerous. You'll make every alpha in this building lose focus. I turned to leave, cheeks burning. I said I'm fine, but before I could take another step, he leaned closer, close enough that his breath brushed my ear. You're not fine, he murmured. You're overheating. I said I can handle it. His low chuckle stopped me cold. You're shaking, Yuki. He straightened, eyes softening just enough to make it worse. Go home. Before I forget to behave. I swallowed hard. You're unbelievable. Ryo tilted his head. You didn't say no. The air between us thickened, his scent brushing against mine like a warning and a promise all at once. And for the first time, I realized that the mistake I made this morning wasn't missing my suppressant. It was catching his attention. The next day, I tried to pretend nothing happened. New patch, long sleeves, head down. If I avoided Ryo Kenzaki, maybe my life would go back to normal. It didn't. He found me after class, leaning against the vending machine like he'd been waiting. Still pretending you didn't almost melt in front of me yesterday, he asked, voice low and amused. I glared. Don't start. He smiled. Relax, I'm not going to tell anyone. A pause, then softer, but you should be careful. That suppressant of yours isn't doing its job. I can handle it, I said quickly. Really? He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the faint trace of his cologne. Because from here, you smell distracting. My breath caught. Ryo, someone might see. He laughed quietly. Then I'll make it quick. What? His lips curved into a smirk. An offer. If your heat ever gets worse again, call me. I'll help. That's not funny. Who said I was joking? I turned away, face burning, but he called after me. Don't look so scared, Yuki. I don't bite. Then, after a beat. Unless you ask nicely. I walked off without answering, heart pounding in my throat, but part of me hated how much I wanted to look back. It was late. The campus was empty, the library dim, and I was trying to focus on my notes. Suppressant patch secure, I told myself. Everything under control. Until I wasn't. A sudden wave of heat surged through me. My vision blurred, and the room spun. I clutched my desk, trying to stay upright. You're in trouble. Rio's voice was smooth, confident, close. My head jerked up. He was there again, like he had been everywhere lately, always appearing when I was most vulnerable. I am fine, I stammered. Really? His grin was teasing, but his eyes were sharp, alert. You don't look fine. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. He moved closer, gently steadying me. Not possessively, not yet, but enough to make my pulse race. You should come with me, he said. Somewhere safe. Safe? I whispered. From your heat, he smirked. And from curious eyes. I knew I shouldn't. Every rational part of me screamed to say no. But something about the way he looked at me, like he cared, but also like he wanted me, made my knees weak. I followed him quietly to his dorm. He guided me inside, calm and careful, his presence warm and grounding. Just sit, he said softly. I'll handle it. He didn't push me, didn't tease me too much. Just stayed close, letting me feel his alpha scent wash over me. My body relaxed in spite of myself. For the first time, I realized why I couldn't stop thinking about him. It wasn't just his dominance. It wasn't just the thrill of danger. It was the way he made me feel seen, like I mattered, even when I was at my weakest. And when he leaned closer, brushing his hand lightly against mine, I knew nothing would ever be the same. I woke to sunlight spilling across the room. My head throbbed, my body warm in ways that made my stomach twist. And then I remembered. Rio. Last night. I sat up quickly, heart racing. But the bed beside me was empty. My relief was immediate until I caught the faint scent of him lingering in the room. A low chuckle made me freeze. You're awake. Rio appeared in the doorway, hair messy, shirt half unbuttoned. He looked too calm, too confident, like nothing unusual had happened. Don't tell me you're regretting this, he teased, walking closer. It's complicated, I muttered, trying to ignore how my pulse betrayed me. Complicated? He raised a brow, voice soft but playful. Come on, Yuki. You looked adorable last night. Stop, I snapped, hiding my flushed face behind my hands. He laughed and leaned casually against the wall, arms crossed. I'm serious. You weren't just hot. You were something else. Vulnerable, cute, and completely mine without even trying. I swallowed hard, heat rising again. You're unbelievable. Maybe, he said, stepping closer, voice dropping. Or maybe I just know how to read you. I tried to keep my distance, but he was everywhere, closing the gap between us, making my heart pound, making it impossible to think clearly. Yuki, he whispered, voice softening. We need to be careful. No one can know. Not your friends, not the college. I know, I murmured, guilt and relief tangled together. He smirked, just for me, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Good. Then we can enjoy the part where it's just us at least for now. I nodded, breathless. Somehow, in that quiet room, I realized the danger, the thrill, and the pull were all part of why I liked him. And just like that, I was already hooked. The next week was unbearable. Everywhere I went, I felt Rio's presence, even when he wasn't there. The faint scent of him lingered in my hoodie, in my notebooks, in my head. I couldn't focus. I didn't want to. Then came the whispers. Did you see how Kenzaki was looking at Arai? Isn't he dating an Omega? I froze, heart hammering. Someone had noticed. Rio caught my gaze from across the library. That smirk, half amusement, half warning, made me flush. He strode over, silent and confident. Relax, he murmured as he brushed past me, letting his shoulder graze mine. It's nothing yet, but be careful. People notice, and some of them will use it against us. What do you mean? I asked, panic creeping in. Your scholarship, he said softly, voice low. And my family, they don't approve of omegas I associate with. If anyone finds out we're close, we'll both be in trouble. I swallowed hard. Trouble. That word alone made my pulse spike. So, what do we do? I whispered. He leaned closer, hand just grazing mine. We stay careful. We hide it. And we enjoy what's ours, quietly. I wanted to argue, to say it wasn't fair, but his presence made my words catch in my throat. You're impossible, I muttered, cheeks burning. And yet, he said with that grin that made my knees weak, you still follow me. I did. Every time. Even when I tried not to. And I realized, with a flush I couldn't hide, that I liked it. I liked him. Even if it was dangerous. It started after class. The corridors were empty, the afternoon sun throwing shadows across the lockers. I thought I could slip away unnoticed, until I felt his hand on my wrist. Going somewhere? Rio's voice was low, teasing, dangerous. I tried to pull free, but he held me easily. Just, the library. The library, he repeated, smirking. You always hide away when you're thinking about me, don't you? I swallowed. My face burned, my pulse racing. I'm not. Shoo, he leaned closer, enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. You smell like it's impossible to think about anything else. I couldn't stop my body from responding. My knees went weak, heart hammering. You're enjoying this, he whispered, brushing a hand against the side of my face. Don't pretend you're not. I can feel it, every tremble, every heartbeat. I'm not, I stammered, though my body betrayed me. Rio's smirk deepened. Oh, I know better. That little heat of yours, it's mine, Yuki. Mine to notice, mine to tempt. He pulled me closer, the contact electric. My back pressed against the lockers, his body dangerously near. The air between us was thick with tension, teasing, and something hotter, dangerous, deliciously forbidden. You're impossible, I whispered, voice trembling. And yet, he breathed, lips just inches from mine, I want every impossible inch of you. Right here, right now, if you'll let me. I froze. His hand slid to mine, entwining our fingers. The warmth, the pressure, the scent of him, it was overwhelming. I didn't move. I couldn't. Rio smiled, brushing his thumb lightly over my knuckles. Relax. I won't hurt you, unless you want me to. My chest tightened, my thoughts scattered. I couldn't resist, not completely. I realized then why I liked him, why I craved him despite the danger. It wasn't just his alpha presence. It was him, Rio. The way he made me feel alive, desired, and seen, even when the world was against us. I don't know if. You don't have to, he interrupted, voice soft but commanding. Just trust me, Yuki. Just for tonight. And just like that, I did. The library felt smaller somehow, the quiet between the shelves heavier than usual. Rio's hands lingered on mine longer than they should have. His presence pressed close, magnetic and dangerous. I could feel the heat in my chest spreading, my body responding in ways I didn't want to admit. You're warm, Rio murmured, voice low and teasing, his thumb brushing lightly over my wrist. Not just from studying. I swallowed, heat rising to my cheeks. Our Rio. He leaned closer, eyes dark, catching mine in a gaze that made my knees weak. I can feel it, Yuki. You're too easy to read. Every little shiver, every quick breath, his hand slid higher, brushing against my shoulder, then holding it just enough to make me tremble. I wanted to pull back, to tell him we should stop, but I couldn't. My body betrayed me, responding to the quiet, possessive way he touched me, to the low, soft way he whispered my name. You're mine, he said, just above a whisper, his lips brushing the shell of my ear. Even when you try to fight it. My heart raced, my thoughts a tangle of panic and desire. I didn't want anyone to see, didn't want anyone to know, but part of me wanted him to claim me here, in the quiet shadows of the library. And then I felt it, a surge, sudden and overwhelming. My body shivered, my pulse spiking. Rio froze for a split second, nostrils flaring, scent picking up the change in me. "You're in heat," he murmured, voice low but sharp. "Yuki." I couldn't answer. I could barely breathe. The world narrowed to him, his warmth, his scent, the sound of his heartbeat so close. He moved instinctively, shielding me, his hands firm but gentle. "Stay close to me. Don't move." A sudden noise, the scrape of a chair, a cough from the far side of the library, made both of us jump. A teacher had come in early. "Shit," Rio whispered, eyes darkening with protectiveness. He grabbed my hand, pressing me against him and against the wall, his body covering mine. "Don't move. Just stay with me." The teacher passed by, oblivious to the closeness and tension hidden in the shadows. Rio's chest pressed to mine, his warmth calming the panic in me. When the footsteps finally receded, he let out a slow breath, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You're ridiculous," he murmured, voice softer now, teasing again. "You melt so easily, and yet you act like you're in control." I can't help it," I whispered, trembling. He smiled, fingers lightly brushing mine. "Good. Because I don't plan on letting you." And in the quiet aftermath, surrounded by books and secrets, I realized something terrifying, and exhilarating. I didn't just like him anymore. I wanted him. Completely. The evening was quiet, the campus nearly empty. Yuki and Rio had slipped into the back corner of the library again, their usual hiding spot. Rio leaned casually against a shelf, eyes tracking Yuki like he always did. But tonight, his playful smirk softened, replaced by something warmer, something that made Yuki's chest tighten. "You've been quiet all day," Rio murmured, stepping closer. His hand brushed lightly against Yuki's arm, teasing, yet gentle. "What's going on in that head of yours?" I just, Yuki faltered, looking anywhere but at him. The warmth from their last encounter still lingered, and his body remembered every touch, every whisper. "I like you, Rio. Not because you're an alpha, not because of power or anything like that. I like you because you're gentle when no one's watching. Because you make me feel safe, even when everything else feels dangerous." Rio blinked, and for the first time, the teasing vanished from his expression. His lips curved into a soft smile, almost shy, as he stepped closer. "You mean it?" "I do," Yuki whispered, voice trembling. "I can't help it. I like you, all of you." Rio's hand reached up, gently brushing a strand of hair behind Yuki's ear. "You know," he said softly, "you could have just said that earlier." I'd already guessed, but hearing it makes it real. Yuki's breath caught as Rio's face tilted closer. His lips hovered near Yuki's, soft, teasing, but charged with the weight of his feelings. "I've wanted to tell you too," Rio murmured, voice low. "That I care. More than I should, maybe. But I can't help it. You're mine, Yuki. Even if it's dangerous, even if no one can know." Yuki shivered, leaning into him despite the fear. The memory of their previous closeness, the stolen touches, the warmth, the heat, made it impossible to resist. Rio's thumb brushed along Yuki's jaw, his lips nearly brushing Yuki's ear. "And I'm not letting go. Not now. Not ever." Yuki's chest tightened. His heart raced, desire mingling with fear, but he felt it, Rio's claim, tender yet possessive. For the first time, he realized that he didn't just want Rio's touch, he wanted all of him. "And maybe," Rio whispered, lips finally brushing Yuki's softly, "we can figure out how dangerous love can be, together." Yuki's breath caught again, warmth pooling in his chest. The confession hung between them, fragile and thrilling, yet undeniable. In that quiet library, surrounded by books and shadows, they shared a long, lingering moment. Words weren't enough. A soft, teasing touch, a gentle hold, a brush of lips, it was intimate enough to ignite a fire that neither could ignore. And in that fire, Yuki realized something: he didn't want to hide from it anymore. The next day, the campus felt different. Every glance felt heavier, every whisper sharper. Yuki could feel it in the air, the sense that someone knew, or at least suspected. Ryo was unusually quiet during class. His usual teasing gaze lingered on Yuki, but there was something else: restraint, caution, and a shadow of worry. After class, Ryo's phone buzzed. He stepped away to answer, voice low, and Yuki caught only snippets. Impossible, scandal, cut off. When Ryo returned, his expression was unreadable. "Everything okay?" Yuki asked, heart pounding. Ryo's eyes softened when they met his. "Not exactly," he said. "But, don't worry about it. I'll handle it." That evening, he finally told Yuki the truth. "My family, they heard rumors," he admitted quietly. "Rumors about me being involved with an Omega. One more slip-up, and I could be disowned. My scholarship, my reputation, everything." Yuki's chest tightened. "So, we should stop." Ryo's gaze darkened. He stepped closer, hand brushing Yuki's cheek, thumb stroking gently. "I could. But I don't want to. Not you. Not us." Yuki swallowed, a mix of fear and longing twisting inside him. "I don't want to lose you." "You won't," Ryo murmured, leaning closer until their foreheads touched. "We just have to be smarter. Quiet. Hidden. But that doesn't mean I'll stop holding you like this." Yuki shivered as Ryo's hands slid to hold him close, fingers intertwining. "Even if it's dangerous?" "Especially because it's dangerous," Ryo whispered, brushing lips over Yuki's temple. "Makes it all the more worth it." For a moment, the world outside, the whispers, the warnings, the threats, didn't exist. It was just them. His warmth, his teasing smile, his possessive grip. But the tension remained, sharp at the edges. Secrets like theirs didn't stay hidden forever. And Yuki realized something terrifying, and thrilling, about Ryo: he didn't just want him. He'd protect him, claim him, and fight for him. No matter what it cost. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Ryo had been distant, polite, careful. His usual teasing smiles were rare, replaced by guarded expressions and quick glances that didn't linger. Yuki felt the shift immediately, a hollow ache forming in his chest. Did I do something wrong?" he asked one evening, watching Ryo pack his bag to leave. "No," Ryo replied, voice clipped, eyes avoiding his. "It's just complicated." Yuki's stomach nodded. He could feel it, the pull between them, the heat that lingered after their library moments, but now it was restrained, hovering at the edges, untouchable. He tried to focus on class, on studying, even on friends, but something felt off. Small waves of dizziness caught him mid-step, and his emotions were all over the place: irritable, tearful, longing. He brushed it off as stress, or maybe missing Ryo too much. But even as he tried to hide it, Ryo noticed. That sharp gaze, that subtle sniff at his neck when he passed. Ryo knew something was off. "Yuki," Ryo said softly one evening when they crossed paths near the library, "you've been acting weird. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Yuki lied, forcing a smile, though his body betrayed him with trembling hands and a flush that didn't fade. Ryo's expression softened, but the shadow of his family's warning lingered in his eyes. "You don't have to hide anything from me," he murmured, stepping closer. "But we can't act on it right now. Not openly. I'm trying to protect you, both of us." The words should have comforted Yuki, but instead they hurt. The distance, the restraint, made his heart ache. The warmth of Ryo's hand brushing his wrist was almost unbearable, a teasing promise that he couldn't fully claim yet. And somewhere deep inside, Yuki felt it, the subtle changes in his body, the fluttering, the unexpected nausea, the heightened sensitivity. He didn't understand yet, but something had shifted. I miss you, he admitted softly, voice breaking just a little. Ryo's hand lingered a heartbeat longer, brushing Yuki's hair from his face. I miss you too, he whispered. Every second. But, trust me, this distance, it won't last forever. Yuki nodded, biting his lip, trying to hold back the emotions that threatened to spill. For now, all he could do was wait, feel the lingering heat of Ryo's presence, and hope that the moment they were allowed to be together again would come soon. And unknowingly, his body was already beginning to signal a change that would force that moment to arrive sooner than either of them expected. The classroom felt warmer than usual. Yuki's head spun, and he pressed a hand to his forehead, trying to steady himself. Yuki. The teacher's voice sounded far away, distant, as the room tilted. And then everything went black. Ryo had been waiting nearby, glancing at his phone, when he saw it happen. He was across the hall in an instant, hands catching Yuki before he hit the floor. Hey, stay with me, Yuki. Ryo's voice was sharp, protective, almost desperate. He pressed Yuki against his chest, the warmth of his body grounding him, holding him steady. Yuki's eyes fluttered open, and Ryo's heart pounded at how small and fragile he looked. I'm fine, Yuki whispered, but his voice trembled. Not fine, Ryo snapped, scanning the room. You nearly passed out. What the hell were you thinking? Yuki could only blink, overwhelmed by the rush of Ryo's concern, the heat of his presence. I don't know. The nurse at the infirmary took one look at him and frowned. She sniffed subtly, her expression tightening. Your scent, it's different. Stronger than usual. Ryo stiffened immediately. His jaw clenched as he processed the reality, the subtle changes he'd noticed over the past few days suddenly made sense. Yuki, are you? Yuki shook his head, panic rising. I don't know. I didn't. I couldn't. Ryo's hand brushed back Yuki's hair, his thumb stroking gently, possessively. Shoo, don't panic. Whatever it is, we'll face it. Together. Yuki shivered, torn between fear and relief. Ryo's words, his nearness, his unwavering presence, it was the only thing keeping him grounded. You scared me, Ryo murmured, holding him closer. If anything happens to you, I don't know what I'd do. I'm scared too, Yuki admitted, voice barely audible. I didn't expect this. Ryo pressed a gentle kiss to the top of his head. Then we'll figure it out. Step by step. But you're mine, Yuki. Mine to protect. Mine to care for. Always. The room felt smaller, warmer, full of tension and unspoken promises. And in that quiet, protective embrace, Yuki realized just how much he relied on Ryo, not just for safety, but for comfort, for love, for all the heat and desire he could no longer deny. The secret they shared had grown heavier, more dangerous, but for the first time, it also felt undeniable. And whatever came next, they would face it, together. The apartment was silent, except for the sound of Yuki's shaky breathing. Ryo stood nearby, hands clenched at his sides, trying to steady his emotions. His eyes, dark and intense, followed every tremble of Yuki's body. You have to understand, Yuki said, voice trembling. I can't just let this change my life like this. I'm scared, Ryo. I don't want to lose everything, my future, my studies. Ryo's jaw tightened. And you think I'm not scared? Yuki, this isn't just about you. It's about both of us. And it's our responsibility now. Yuki flinched at the word. Responsibility? You mean, keeping it? Raising it? I don't know if I can do that. Ryo's eyes softened just slightly, but the possessive edge remained. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, almost a growl. I'm not letting you do this alone. You don't have to decide everything right now. But running from it, from me, won't solve anything. I'm not running. Yuki cried, tears threatening to spill. I'm just terrified. Ryo's hand cupped Yuki's face, thumb brushing over his cheek. The touch was gentle, but there was an undeniable weight in it, possession, care, and something deeper. Then let me be there. Let me take care of you. Protect you. Don't push me away. Yuki's body trembled under his gaze. He wanted to fight, to argue, but Ryo's closeness, the warmth, the danger, made every protest fade. I don't know if I can. You can, Ryo interrupted, voice low and firm, leaning closer so their foreheads touched. Because I'm not letting go. You're mine, Yuki. No matter how scared you are, no matter what anyone says. And I'll make sure you're safe, and cared for. The tension broke like a dam. Yuki let out a shaky breath, leaning into him, letting himself be held. Ryo's arms tightened around him, possessive, protective, grounding. For a moment, there was no fear, no shame, no outside world, just them, together, the heat of their closeness and the strength of their bond filling the apartment. I trust you, Yuki whispered finally, voice trembling. Ryo smiled, a mixture of relief and desire glinting in his eyes. Good. Because you'll need to. From now on, everything, it's just us. And in that embrace, Yuki realized something terrifying and thrilling. He didn't want to face the future without Ryo by his side. No matter how dangerous it got. The rumor spread faster than fire. One careless classmate had overheard a whispered conversation between Ryo and Yuki in the library, and the news traveled through the campus like a storm. Did you hear? Whispers followed Yuki through the halls. Eyes lingered, judgmental, curious, some even cruel. Ryo's phone buzzed endlessly. His father's voice, sharp and cold, cut through the tension. One more scandal, and you're cut off. No exceptions. That Omega has jeopardized everything. Yuki's stomach twisted. He hadn't meant for anyone to know, hadn't meant to risk Ryo's life or future. Ryo appeared at his side later, eyes dark, fists clenched. I'll handle them. But you. Yuki nodded, trembling. He felt the weight of Ryo's presence like an anchor, though the fear gnawed at his chest. Don't leave me, he whispered, voice small. Ryo's hand brushed Yuki's cheek, thumb lingering possessively. I'll never leave you, he said, voice low, almost a growl. No matter what they say, no matter what they do. You're mine. That night, in the quiet of his apartment, Yuki replayed every whispered rumor, every pointed glance, every warning from Ryo's family. The secret they'd tried so hard to protect was exposed, and it terrified him, but it also made his heart ache for Ryo even more. Yuki's footsteps echoed in the empty hallway as he slipped out of the dorms before dawn. He left behind his room, his friends, and even the fragile sense of normalcy he clung to. All that mattered now was safety, for himself, and for the life growing inside him. He found a small, modest apartment several blocks from campus. The room was sparse, quiet, but it felt like freedom. Every evening, he studied, cooked simple meals, and read everything he could about pregnancy and caring for an Omega in heat. His body had changed subtly, the nausea, the heightened sensitivity, the dizzy spells, and he wrote down every detail, desperate to understand what was happening. Evenings were the hardest. The apartment was silent, but Yuki's mind was full of memories of Ryo, the teasing, the possessive touches, the way Ryo's warmth could calm or ignite him all at once. I shouldn't want him, Yuki whispered into the empty room, hands pressed to his belly. I shouldn't. But I do. I always will. Every flutter, every unexpected wave of dizziness reminded him, he was carrying Ryo's child. And yet, every pang of longing for Ryo also reminded him of the danger. If Ryo's family discovered him here, or if the college found out first, everything could collapse. But no matter the fear, no matter the isolation, Yuki kept one thought alive: Ryo would find him. He always did. Months passed. Each day, Yuki's belly grew slightly, each kick a reminder of what, and who, he was protecting. And then, one evening, there was a knock at the door. Ryo. Yuki froze. His chest tightened, and instinctively, he clutched his growing belly. Fear mixed with longing, panic with relief. Ryo. I told you I'd find you, Ryo said, voice low, rough with emotion. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, eyes scanning him, taking in the small changes in his posture, the softness in his cheeks, the undeniable evidence of their child. Yuki, Ryo murmured, closing the distance. His hands cupped Yuki's face, thumbs brushing over his flushed skin, possessive and protective. You didn't think I'd give up, did you? Yuki's breath hitched. I was scared. I didn't want to put you in danger. Ryo's hands moved to cradle his belly, resting possessively over Yuki's hands. You're mine, he growled softly, and that includes this little one. I don't care what anyone says. I'll protect you both. Yuki felt tears prick his eyes, but this time they were mixed with relief and longing. Ryo's warmth pressed against him, steady, insistent, and utterly possessive. He could feel the tension between them, the fire that had always existed, transforming into something protective, intimate, and deeply emotional. They didn't speak for long. Words weren't enough. Fingers intertwined, foreheads pressed together, shared breaths and quiet murmurs filled the room. And in that closeness, Yuki realized, he didn't just want Ryo's protection. He wanted him, wholly, finally, without fear or distance. Ryo's confrontation with his family was decisive. This is my life, he said, jaw tight, eyes blazing. And this is Yuki. And our child. I will not hide them, and I will not abandon them. You can either accept this, or leave us be. The arguments, the threats, the cold disapproval, they all fell away. Slowly, Ryo's family relented. Quietly, carefully, they agreed to let the couple rebuild together. Back in their apartment, Ryo finally let himself relax. Yuki sat on the sofa, his hand resting lightly on his belly, watching it twitch as their baby moved. Ryo crouched beside him, one hand over Yuki's, the other resting possessively on his shoulder. Feeling the little one? He asked, voice soft, almost awed. Yes, Yuki whispered, trembling. It's amazing. And terrifying. Ryo smiled, leaning close to press a soft, possessive kiss on Yuki's temple. Everything worth having is a little terrifying, he murmured. But this, us, it's ours. And no one can take it from us. Yuki leaned into him, letting himself be enveloped in warmth, strength, and love. Ryo's hands roamed lightly, brushing over his shoulders, arms, and belly, possessive but tender, claiming him without a word. I love you, Yuki whispered, heart full. I know, Ryo said, grinning, possessive, and yet gentle. And I'll make sure you never forget it. Not you. Not this baby. Not ever. For the first time since the chaos began, the future felt safe. The baby kicked again, small but insistent, as if to confirm it. Yuki smiled, pressing his head against Ryo's chest, feeling the steady beat beneath him. Together, finally, they were free, to love, to protect, and to claim their happiness without fear.